everyone. Welcome to the Blot Talk podcast. Let me get some background music on. I'm just going to do the classic Zelda and Chill playlist. I'll link it in the YouTube video. Today we are here to discuss restrictions and weapon bans because that is what everyone is talking about right now. So I am joined by the usuals. Finally, we have the full cast here this time. So yeah, we're going to get started with this. So why don't we start with you, Jared, since, I mean, you probably have the best example of the reason for this. Why are restrictions being considered now? Why are we talking about them? What's going on?
Mostly because current meta is really toxic. Like, it's tons of Zuka, tons of Pencil, and there's very little variance. You always want to run Pencil Zuka, so there doesn't leave much room for anything else. And even with the meta you have right now, it's so random. It just feels like any team can win because there's no, like... It's just so random, like so many things are out of your control, and that makes the meta really annoying to play right now.
I guess the Zuka got 2 kills. Oh, I guess that happened.
Yeah, I guess that happened, yeah.
There's another pencil in the comp. Wow, it's pencil
Guys,
pencil
I got
again.
4.
Oh,
Oh wait,
okay.
they're already back. I have cool. They're cool.
Oh, okay. My Zuka got 2 kills, but they had cooler up, so doesn't matter anyways. So
Yeah.
You know, that's an obvious one. Another one was probably that it's been about, if I've kept track well, 3 patches of consistent Pencil and Zuka meta. You know, it's fluctuated a little bit as we've figured it out, but for the most part, there have been multiple balance changes. I think this has probably been one of the longest streaks of having frequent patches that have not resulted in the meta changing for quite a while. Usually these ban discussions only really happen when a game's content is done and it's not being updated as much. So this is kind of happening earlier than usual, mostly because patches have, you know, kind of at the top level at least failed to address the main issues with the game right now. And so players are now looking to change things. And I think another example of this could be, and Jared, you have experience with this, people are not wanting to play the game right now. Whether it's a resurgence of Splatoon 3 players going to Splatoon 1 and realizing it's the best multiplayer experience, or it's Jackpot just not being able to find a scrim for an entire week. So that's been happening lately.
Yeah, it's just really bad. Nobody's playing. People went back to Splatoon 1. I even went back to Splatoon 1. I emulated it, and I don't know what you guys see in that game. That game's so toxic when you're playing comp. It's just like cherry trees everywhere, sloshes everywhere. Like, no way you guys think that's good.
Jared's not a fan of the true best game.
That's because he didn't
ProChara is
play
a
it.
boomer.
I'm playing it right now, and it's just cherry trees and V sloshes. Like, dude, it's so toxic.
You didn't play it when it first came out. That's
Well,
why.
I'm talking about like comp. Like, you play that thing in competitive setting, it's so bad. Like, it's actually so trash.
We'll talk about Splatoon 1 another time, because Zero gonna go off if we don't get this out right now. We're lucky Zero's not talking a lot right now, because he's staunchly defending this game.
It's toxic but better. Brain dead statement.
But anyway, point being, very few people are playing right now. People are very inactive at the moment, and in general, just the game has been very stale, and the meta set attributes like Zuka that people have not liked for a while. So we're discussing bans, and when talking about bans, it's always worth talking about the types of bans the Splatoon community has always done, which are these one-off tournament bans. So if you've seen your Ideals tournaments that Beta's hosted, if you've seen my recent $30 tournament, if you remember BNS a long time ago, these are one-off tournament bans, basically where some TO will come up with some rule set for whatever bans they want to do because they want to do it, and people will play with those restrictions, and it'll usually just be a one-off tournament that happens every now and then. It won't be a consistent thing. What people are discussing now, and something we've never really done before, is standard bans. So the idea is to try to come up with some bans that most tournaments would run. I think it was yesterday, I saw Popgun talking about some restrictions he was thinking about for IPL that I'll get to a bit later. So, you know, I think standard bans are a little bit different. I'll kind of talk a bit for this one since I just ran the $30 tournament. But, you know, $30 one was fun because it was just like, okay, I control this currency for how much weapons cost, and it's basically just another factor in how good a weapon is that can determine how it's picked. But it's by no means trying to fix the game, and, you know, none of these are trying to fix the game completely. So I think it's worth talking about what exactly do we want out of more standard bans versus these one-off bans? What's the difference between them? So, Zero, what would you like to see out of more standard bans? Are you looking for more safe picks? Do you want things to be more experimental? What would you want people to kind of consider for a long-term process in case the next patch doesn't fix things?
Oh,
Again.
Loki Zero. I think you want shot banned, no?
I'm not gonna lie, it's getting to that point. I'm gonna be honest with you.
The shot player
Ooh.
is wanting shot
Yeah,
banned.
like
Oh,
in all,
wow.
like even I like play the weapon, and I just sit here seeing like no one's genuinely playing the actual weapon. It's just used for Zuka. But overall, I feel like if we're gonna do this type of system, we have to like practice this kind of thing and see what we can like work with, and obviously experiment. But I think first off, like first bans, like trying out no shot would probably be optimal. I honestly would agree with it at this point. I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to play it because it's just you're not doing anything. You're kind of playing in a way you're playing support where you're just kind of painting around and just spamming Zuka. And you can realistically get over like 11 Zukas a game if you sit there and paint them out. A good example is Goss, who's really good at dumping them out. But like that's not an insult.
crazy.
It's not an insult to him. He's just really good at playing it in a support style, and he kind of like shows like the way you can exploit shot in a way. But the main way you're supposed to use shot in this game is supposed to be, you know, the frontline weapon. You're not really doing that right now, and the way the meta is, and it's so stale and boring. It's just there's no like, for me at least, satisfaction playing shot. It's just there's no value at all. And if you try to go in or do anything with that kind of opportunity, you just lose to either a sword, bucket, squeezer, anything. It's really bad.
Okay,
Well,
but
that's my
you know,
take
if
on
we're
it.
banning shot, what's the point of that long term? Like, do you want to tone back something like
So,
special
like,
spam with Zuka, or what
I
are we
would
looking
say-
to create here?
Definitely, I would definitely say like either keep one Zuka, but it cannot be from shot. You know what I mean? Like ban out shot. You can have it use like squeezer or something because you can't really farm it as much. And definitely like try things like take out charge up and certain comms. I feel like even with pencil, you can still do that. That's another weapon that's just overall ruining the way of the game. It literally took out support in a way, and it also ruins the fact that you can't run certain things sometimes like zap. But I know other teams like JP teams, and when you play them and whenever they run like zap and rapid and other things, but I have also not been playing as much lately, so
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Pencil's definitely another one. I guess this kind of gets into our main ban. So when we're looking to ban things more, you know, long term, none of these are ever permanent bans. You know, they're still
Yeah.
updating the game. But when we're looking into more long term bans, you want to address some of the core problems of the meta, which is some stuff that I think we'll get to later. So these long term bans are a lot less, you know, less experimental with things like the $30 format and more like, okay, what actually needs to be restricted? Let's not mess around with things that don't need to be messed with. What are the actual main things? And that's going to bring me into my next point, where we're going to talk about the main ban proposals. And we'll talk about other ideas later, as we'll get to with stuff like the shot or charge up ban. But there are three main ban proposals that seem to be the most common, and I believe some of these have already been tried out in tournament already, which is one Zuka per team comp, the cooler pencil is entirely banned, and there is no Kraken allowed on Clam Blitz. Those are the main three restrictions that I think most people are wanting to try out right now. What do you think of that rule set, Shadow?
Listen, I'm a big fan of Kraken and Clan Blitz. It's no
I wonder
surprise.
why. I wonder why.
But that's because I'm biased. Looking at it from a non-biased perspective, it's probably a good thing to think about because it's such a dominant force in that mode. It kind of breaks the mode in a way, so it's probably a good thing to try out and see how it fits there. But a different thing with that is that I think those bans are good, but inherently they won't solve the problem.
Okay.
The problem will just be replaced with a different annoying weapon that will take over the meta and be the new meta. If we ban Kraken and Clamblitz, what else is gonna get meta? Okay, then we have to start dealing with Inkvac spam. Okay, how are we gonna deal with that? We don't have a Kraken to push back the vac. And it's hard to like
Predict where things will go, I
specifically
guess.
change the meta in one way, because if one team doesn't like Kraken, that's fine. One team likes Kraken, that's fine, but it removes a counter to the next meta that would come after Kraken gets banned. So I think a potentially better option would be only having one special per or on the team, but again, that would keep Kraken being broken in Clamblitz. So there's a real dichotomy there that I don't know how it would work.
We can
I
get to that
mean-
a bit, but I think Jared's got something here, yeah?
If you're gonna say like, oh, we can't predict the new meta, well, do you think the new meta will be even close as worse as it is with Kraken spam and Clan Blitz? Like nothing can be worse than that, I think. So I'd rather take
That's
like
true.
Yes.
the lesser evil, literally.
Like to ban Kraken, then see what happens with a new meta, and then
Yeah, see what
based on
happens.
what happens, based on what happens, like change it up based on that.
Yeah, and I just don't think it can be as toxic as the current one we have. Like, there's no point in keeping the meta we have right now if nobody's enjoying it, and we're just like, oh, we're so scared of the new meta. Like, just experiment. That's what the whole point
Experiment, see how it like works, see how it evolves.
Yeah, that's kind of I mean, that's what I'm thinking right now. Like, people aren't good like, top players are not playing the game anyway, so, like, you know, there's a chance we make something that's also bad, but, like, what we have right now is, like, also
Isn't
pretty
much
bad
better.
anyway, so, you know, at least let's try to make it a bit better, you know? I think Cooler Pencil is probably the band that a lot of people are kind of understanding, because we really want to open up backline and support, and that's something that I think we need to talk about a bit later. So Cooler Pencil is probably the main one that a lot of people want to do, especially because a lot of backline players are very tired of playing Pencil and would like to play not Pencil. So, you know, I think that one's one I agree with a lot, and I think restricting Zuka is a good idea. I don't think Zuka needs to be, like, entirely banned, but
Yeah,
keeping
I
it
agree.
from being, like, spammed or double Zuka would remove a lot of the randomness, especially because I think, personally, tracking only one Zuka player is a lot easier. You can definitely keep more of an eye on when they're going to have their special if you're good at tracking that mid-match. So,
Also,
I think that
like
helps.
I haven't seen like constant double Zuka or triple. I've heard people have been running that recently, or like double shot,
Mhm.
but like before we even like had this like idea of like doing this, or like in the last week, I've been seeing only one Zuka, but it's out of the shot and it's like 10 a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But-
that's kind of a problem I'm seeing a lot with these one Zuka bans, is it basically
Yeah.
means, well, you have to pick shot because shot's the only weapon that can get a lot of Zukas, you know, outside of Sorelaton.
Yeah.
People haven't figured that out yet. You know, so shot is like what everyone is starting to default to, and that, you know, that comes to the problems with one of these ban proposals. Like, if it's one Zuka, we're basically going to indirectly be buffing splatter shot, which is not the intended outcome of this.
It just makes it
And-
worse.
You know, it's a similar problem with that, with Cooler Pencil being banned, and I saw this with the $30 tournament. People just pick the red pencil instead. And it's, I mean, you have to run like a zap with it, so it's a little bit different, but now this rule set has already started to create some problems, because now we have shot being picked even more than it did before, because you can't really pick on the Zuka weapons a lot of the time. The other Zuka weapons are seeing less use. We're seeing a bunch of red pencil, which means another weapon in your comp has to be zap or edit a lot of the time. And so now our comps are getting restricted in a different way. And so that's what's going to bring me to the next point, where we need to talk about what exactly are bans supposed to do in the first place? What do we want out of them? Because, you know, there's a lot of unintended outcomes, but I think an easy way to look at bans is, what do we actually want bans to accomplish? What do we want the meta and the game to look like? What do we actually want to see from it? And I have some ideas I'll propose, but I would like to hear what you guys want. You know, what is your ideal Splatoon 3? What are your requirements for a good meta? Since, you know, people like to say that every meta is complained about, which is kind of true, but what do you want out of a meta? What would make it good?
A meta that encourages team play with structure, being able to communicate with each other instead of just saying, oh, I have this one special, let me see what it does, instead of, you know, coordinating with your team.
I agree.
There's
So a lot
no
of
structure
Splatoon
right
2
now.
focus in that, like incentivizing a bit more team play, making it
More
a bit
team-
important.
More team play, but without global specials, like obviously.
So no missile, no whale.
No
stuff
way,
like that you
yeah.
don't want to see.
Stuff that
play
takes
doesn't-
skill expression in your team play is really
skill
important.
expression. There's the big terminology words.
Jared,
Yeah.
like I kind of get what you're saying there. Like team play doesn't necessarily mean, okay, you pop your whale for me from spawn and I'm gonna go do something with it.
Yeah.
That's not really
Yeah.
team play, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but I don't know if it's the team play we want.
It's not really the team play
It's
we
We
want.
extremely
require a
brain
little
dead.
bit more effort
Yeah.
than that one.
Yeah.
I feel right now you can just get away with anything, and it's bad to the point where no offense to certain people, I'm not like calling anyone out, but
Mhm.
players that aren't relatively good can like get so much value off doing something incredibly stupid before this meta. Like you can get cooler, run it down, or just spam Zuka and get like 3, and then go run it down their spawn, die, and you're immediately back. Or if you die like immediately as you popping Zuka, you throw 2 shots, you still have your Zuka charge, even because of the cooler. And there's no like takeaway from it, and it just makes it incredibly worse because you can just immediately come back, spam, and there's like I understand the value of taking a risk and getting value off of it, but half the time if it's every single moment of the game and you're just getting away with it because of whatever, oh I have cooler, all right, I'm just gonna go run it down, and nothing's, there's nothing good coming out of it. It's just brain dead. It's really bad in my opinion. Like even as the shot player, it's just really bad. I can get away with so many stupid things just because I have a pencil dumping it out, and then all right, I'm dead. I can just come back and just spray Zuka. Like,
you
know
have
what
to
I mean?
use that word.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think like compared to Splatoon 2, one thing that I think is important, like when we want team play, I think another thing we want to see in a good meta is active play. I think that people, like we said, we don't want stuff like whale or missile sitting back, but it can also apply to certain weapons. Like Junior in Splatoon 2 just kind of spammed the shit ton of bombs and painted the whole map and spammed a lot of armor. So I think it's also important that active play, taking a lot of fights and active positions is incentivized and rewarded as well, which I think is one of the things Splatoon 3 generally does a good job with already. But it is worth noting, if we're putting bans in place, you don't want to push things to a point where, hey, everybody sit back and farm a special or spam bombs or have a leader get a pick from Narnia. We want to try to avoid having things like that come into the meta as well. We want to keep the play active instead of removing that part, because that is probably one of the better parts of this meta.
Yeah. I also think like things shouldn't be too easy in a structured meta to do. Like there should be some difficult things that a team can do, but it takes like mechanical skill and like timings and stuff. Like it shouldn't just be like, oh, I press one button and I move forward with team. Like
yeah,
there
I
needs to
think
be
that
some
gets
kind of
into skill
mechanical skill.
expression, which we'll probably have to cover last, because that's going to be probably the biggest topic of this whole discussion.
Especially since now the system is wait for cooler, do not do anything until I have cooler. Like the backline will literally say, I got cooler now. Everyone just immediately goes up and fights, and that's it. There's no structure.
One thing similar to that point, I think, I saw, funny enough, we talked about shot a bit, and Fuzzy mentioned banning shot as well, or said that if he could remove one thing from the game, he would remove it. Another shot player from Splatoon 1. But I think a point there that was talked about a bit is Fuzzy, I think, tends to prefer mid-range weapons in the meta, and I've seen a bit of a push for that a lot. That typically mid-range metas have been looked at more fondly because those tend to be very powerful main weapons that don't play, like, they're usually more ink hungry, so they don't get as much specials and can't use as much of their sub weapons. So, and I think it's some of the highlights of Splatoon 3's metas have been mid-range weapons. The main one that's been new to this game has been Stamper. I think at a top level, Stamper has been one of the most positively received weapons out there. I don't see many people who dislike it or find Stamper players to be carried, and it seems to be a very, high skill weapon. But there are other examples, like we have Range, Machine, even after its nerf. You have stuff like Nautilus or Squeezer. There are other weirder examples like Bamboo out there, but there's a lot of different mid-range fighting weapon options that are noteworthy. Slosher would probably be another one.
I was gonna say, I think
that is the one that people are using right now.
I think midline dominates the game itself. Like even in 2, I feel like 2, when we had that kind of style of, I usually go back to this a lot, CDS, K-Pro, not. Like having those in Bamboo, even though we had MPU as a big thing.
Until the specials were powerful enough to discourage fighting altogether, mid-range was what was dominant.
Yeah, but those type of weapons, I think Bucket too, those weapons were literally the big change of the game. Yeah, we just kind of had that constantly around.
But I mean, I like the idea of having mostly, it shouldn't be every weapon you pick, but I think having, like, generally double midline being the main thing you want for comps, I think has been relatively healthy as far as I'm aware. I have some bias as a range player, and we have a 10 player in here, but we also have 2 short range players in the call, so, we can always give some pushback if so, but I think that has generally been some of the more favored metas as we've looked back, has been things that are more mid-range focused.
No, I'd like to go back to CDS.
Well, we have 2 people who are short range players, but they both play CDS. Both miss CDS.
let's not forget, I got K-Pro 3000 in Splatoon 2, and
K-Pro's like baby's first mid-range weapon, let's be honest.
I feel like midlines in general may be buffed. I'm not trying to see like Squeezer, Bucket just be like one of the stronger midlines. I think that's just
buff H3.
Yeah, buff H3, buff Pro, like just buff every mid line to like be able to compete with Samper and Sword, because those are the only ones you're
Stamper,
running.
Sword, and 10. I would say.
Or yeah,
Well,
Samper,
Stamper,
Sword. Yeah.
I genuinely
And 10,
feel
we're just
10 would be
throwing
another
10
one.
in
I think 10 is one of the best mid lines in the game too. I think Sorrel 10 is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I think 10's crazy strong too.
10 is fun. I'm not gonna lie. I like. 10.
I think Sorrel 10 is like a
That's
pretty.
my gun.
I think Sorrel 10 is probably the most healthy Zuka playstyle since it does force it a good bit forward. So I'm a fan of 10.
I mean, I think shields are dumb in any game, but that's just me.
Well, the other two Brellas might beg to differ a little bit right now.
Well, they don't really have shields. Those don't count.
They don't live.
Oh, sorry.
ideal
I forgot.
world
There's
it
a third
works.
one. Other three.
You don't even have to throw a bomb.
I forgot
at the
that
new
one. I forgot they put that other one in the game. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm pretty sure the new shield for the bro, like you skim it with a bomb, it doesn't even touch it.
It's
keeps
half
on the
of
ground.
undercover. It just
Yeah,
breaks to everything.
just-
It doesn't count.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the obvious one but we've been dancing around the topic a little bit. Skill expression, right? So skill expression, for those who don't know, is just basically like the ability to highlight player skill. I think one of the best examples of this, and I don't have the clip to pull up right now, but there's a clip a while back of Isabel pairing Terra's Inkjet like 6 times and then
I
killing
remember
the
that
landing.
clip.
That was a clip that blew up quite a lot. You know, there have been some other ones like both in NA Opens and LANs where people parry like stuff while running the Rainmaker forward to get extra points, and they tank like 3 or 4 things. That's what skill expression is. And I want to point out that skill expression, when we evaluate different options in the game, is not just using it. Like, let's use an example everyone will probably agree on, right? Zipcaster is probably the most high skill expression thing in this game, right? Anyone disagree?
Nope, I agree.
Yeah.
Mm,
Right?
Yeah.
Pretty
I
pretty
think
easy to
Inkvac
agree
might be-
on. But another part about Zipcaster is counterplaying is also pretty skill expression wise. You know, how you move out of the way, how you choose to try to shoot it down. So for both the player using the special and against the special, there's a lot of opportunities for unique plays to happen. There's a lot of different ways you can have a lot of value. And the most important part is you have to be good to do it. Because if you're not good at zip, you're probably just going to zip in and, you know, just instantly die the second you reach the enemy team.
Me.
It creates a lot of,
That's him.
in my opinion, really fun moments, both for the players, but also for the viewers to be able to see, like, hey, this is cool. And I think that's something that's lacking a lot, because most of the time when Zuka gets a double, it's not, oh my god, what an insane shot. It's, ha, lol, bazooka shot twice, and 2 people behind a corner died.
Or it lobbed over the wall and 2 pellets just collect 2 people just sitting there or running away.
2
from it.
shots of it hit the wall, and then one of it curved around and hit the guy
Yeah.
behind it anyway.
It flicked around and it said hi.
You know, and that's
then
talking
Bazooka
about
went
specials, which
sideways.
obviously there's a lot of other stuff besides specials that play a factor here, but I think specials are probably the main one. And in my opinion, you know, we have good specials like skill expression wise, like Crab and Jetpack, that are pretty good, but how often do you see them? Like, Jetpack is still a pretty good special right now, but how often do you see a Jetpack because of the limited amount of kits that it's on? Like,
Yeah,
what are
I
your
agree.
Jetpack options for short range weapons? V-Try? You're not gonna pick that gun.
About some Nova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Nova's brought up as your best option for frontline, we've done something wrong in the kits department of this game.
You know, if that weapon was insane, that'd probably be the most fun weapon to play right
One
now.
more whale
I
buff
think it
and
would be
Nova
more
Meta's
sit
gone.
back and paint for Jet than fun, but the jetpack part
Yeah.
might be fun.
No, one more whale buff, trust me.
If the pellets get bigger, or, you know, does a little bit more damage, I'm playing that weapon. I have Inkjet. I will win every game.
But yeah, I mean, I
will
think
have-
we
I will have
want
fun again.
specials that have that. I think there are other specials like that that aren't very good. For example, I think Stamp and Vac are both pretty high skill expression as well. You know, I think plays to be able to, like, kill an Ink Vac user are usually pretty hype, and Stamp is very difficult. So I think those are other options where I would love to see those get more popular. Probably less feasible for a bans format to make Stamp good here, but, you know, long term, it'd be cool if specials like that could be better for top level play, because I think that's where we really do need more plays and moments like that. I think it generates a lot of hype for the game, and it's just fun for the players.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say this earlier. I know it's not, you know, very specific. I think just the game itself needs to give something for the meta, at least. This is really like common knowledge, but it's like this game has no enjoyment when you play it. You're kind of just bored. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way.
I think
Like,
you're just insane.
okay, bro, never mind. I'm not gonna speak anymore. I hate Jared. He's the worst person alive.
I mean, I think I know what you're talking about. I mean, what my experience with the game is, I have to play at a certain level for it to be enjoyable. And obviously, this is a very competitive thing, so I'm not trying to pull away from
Yeah,
anyone
no,
who
I
enjoys
agree.
the game casually here. But I think, like, at a competitive level, you do need that form of, like, these plays need to feel like they're hype, or you're playing better than the opponent, or you have a way to really, like, make something hype happen. You know, the kind of Twitter clip type thing we're talking about. And I think the game does lack a lot of tools to allow that kind of play to happen right now. I think that's part of why I have an issue with the skill expression of the specials. I think there need to be, like, more moments where you feel like, oh my god, this game is so insane, I'm so good. Like, I think there need to be ways to enable more moments like that. You know, that's a very vague concept, but I think that might be part of what Zero's getting at, and, like, I think we do need more stuff like that, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I
Because,
agree.
like, I play range, and, like, playing range is fun. Like, hitting directs is really hype, but, like, what does throwing wave add to my experience? Like, oh shit! I located a guy for
I was about to
1.5 seconds. Let's fucking
Guys,
go!
I tagged 4 people for 1 second. I'm amazing.
Yeah, so it's like,
It's beautiful.
you know, every time I get to the special, there's no extra enjoyment. And I feel like specials should be a big part that adds to the game. You know, there's nothing wrong with simple specials, and, like, you could make wave more enjoyable. Probably if it wasn't complete dog shit, it would be more enjoyable anyway. But, like, that is an attribute that lacks a bit, and I think that's part of the meta. You know, like, how satisfying is throwing a cooler? How satisfying is using bazooka? I
Yeah,
don't
it's not
think
even
it's
fun for me
that
anymore.
there. You know, same for, like, pencil clips in general. I think, you know, pencil tends to be seen as, like, the most boring weapon. When have you seen a spectator in a tournament recently put on the pencil POV? Probably not very often.
It
Yeah.
does not happen.
Like, I've seen Kyo watch party, and then it'll be one of the players will be the pencil streaming, and then he'll try to find anyone else streaming the match to watch instead. Like, we all
And
know.
it's no disrespect to any pencil player.
Yes, of
Usually
course.
they're very talented. Let's take Q for example, or Basil, or any pencil player. Very talented players. But the weapon they're playing, nobody wants to watch. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
I'll let you do like a 360 with Charger.
And
Not
then-
sit there and paint the
Because I
floor.
almost forgot until I
Yeah.
looked at the notes. I think another obvious point we've danced around is there should probably be a few different comps that are good in whatever meta we want to create. And this is probably the one we have the most, you know, freedom over in terms of our restriction formats. We want to try to make it so, hey, maybe the best backline is like 3 different weapons and not 1. And there's like 3 different supports and multiple different front lines that we pick, you know. Having multiple different kinds of comps and strategies be good. Like, hey, maybe you want to play a backless style, or around a splatling, or around a rapid, or a charger, or a bow. Last one, yeah, I mean, maybe one day. Like, you know, have more types of comps be viable. I think it should be something where you actually do have to think about. And this was what was fun about the $30 tournament until Red Pencil and CF kind of took over everything. But that first week leading up to it, I saw, like, people would do backless comps. I saw ballpoint comps. I saw vac rapid comps. And it was really fun to just actually have to think about, hey, do we actually need to change our comp? Can we, like, should we actually think about the guns we're picking instead of, okay, we need the splatter shot, we need the pencil, we need some mid-range fighting gun, and preferably another mid-range fighting gun, or short-range weapon with something like a burst bomb and a crab, like a splash or
And
something.
then that actually happened
You know.
at the end.
Like, yeah, it kind
everyone
of,
was like, I
it
want
did
to
kind of
get-
consolidate to that. I should have made chargers more expensive, I'll fully admit that. But
Yeah, chargers are so broken when everything
to
else
be
is so
fair,
much
Red
more
Pencil
weaker.
and ZF were the 2 most expensive backlines besides Blue Pencil, and they still got picked over everything else, so.
Shut up, Jerry.
Yeah.
What? You have no say.
They
I
were still
love
$2 to
it. On
$3
H3,
more
bro. It
expensive.
was not
Yeah.
fun.
What do you mean? You're on the best weapon.
That shit's ass. I hate that weapon.
So,
What? Okay,
you know, I think that that's all
one.
important. So those are all the factors we want to consider. So, you know, when we're making bans, it's important to think about, like, these are the kind of things we want. We want active play, we want team play, we want a variety of comps, we want more skill expression, stuff like that. And so, let's delve into the big question. So what do we actually ban? So, before we get to our own personal opinions, Kyo has a pretty interesting rule set that I'm gonna look up real quick because I lost it. That I think we can talk about. Right,
What is it?
Kyo
Is
is
it like no
running
charges?
the Glaze Gauntlet, which
Unbelievable.
has a tournament format where it's a little bit more than the standard limit. So it still has some of the same stuff, like there's only 1 Zuka that's allowed, there's no blue pencil, stuff like that, but there's some other restrictions. Only 1 crab, only 1 cooler, and probably the most extreme one, none of the pencils, leaders, or splat chargers at all. No long-range chargers are allowed in this tournament. And
That's
the reason
crazy.
for that's probably pretty obvious, because as we saw in the $30 tournament, as soon as you take Pencil out of the equation, Red Pencil and ZF dominate everything. And part of the things we wanted with our bans was a variety in comps. And if everyone just picks ZF and Red Pencil, we haven't really achieved that. And that's something we've seen with the main ban proposals already. You know, we've seen a lot of Shot and Red Pencil already. So we may need to do a little bit more if we really want to go into that variety. So we have to look at what stuff do we need to ban and what do we not. Because my biggest criticism of Kyo's format, like, you know, obviously it's a try and things might change. I think it's a bit too restrictive on the long-range chargers. Like, for example, I think a good workaround would be allowing VAC Charger. Because that has a lot weaker of a kit than ZF, and VAC is one of the specials we probably want to see more of in a tournament setting. So what if you experimented with that in terms of still allowing chargers but having a way to play around it? Because obviously if you're a long-range charger player, you're probably just not going to play the tournament. And, you know, Kyo might be cool with that. That might be fine for him. But if we're looking for restrictions to become more mainstream, that might be a problem if there's no workaround for it. So I think we have to look at our bans really carefully. And, you know, I think should give it time here for everyone to come up with their list. So I mean, do you guys have any ban lists? What's your dream bans for this game?
I mean,
what would you do?
I already got mine. I think
let's hear
yeah, I think Cooler Pencil should only be banned on zones. It's not really that much stronger on other modes.
Okay.
I think we shouldn't allow special charge for shooters. No shooters should be running special charge. It's just kind of broken.
Okay. Let me write this down so I can recite it.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
One Zuka, obviously. One Zuka, no Kraken on Clan Blitz.
Okay.
And that's it. I think chargers should be allowed because the other chargers aren't as... Because when you run a Zeko charger or whatever, you're forced to run a Zap, which is not like that strong of a weapon. So I don't think like Fire Fin would be as like strong as it was in the charity tournament.
So you think with the ability to play other supports a bit more that ZF comps wouldn't take over everything? You're not super sold on it the way Kyo is. So you think that might be more fair to keep chargers. And you also think even Pencil is fine on the other modes, which I don't know about that one, but alright, you know.
You run Pencil on TC and Rainbow, you tell me how it goes against like VAC comps and stuff.
We have not
Kraken
played
comps.
that's right.
Yeah, I know. People haven't played it. They've only played zones, but we played it.
I mean,
and
zones
we think-
only is the majority of things, so I think this still is going to feel like a Pencil ban. Like, are you going to practice Pencil at a top level for the rare tournament that actually runs all modes if, like, the majority are zones only and all the practice is zones only?
Yeah.
Like, at that point,
Right.
you might as well just ban it throughout the whole thing, because, like, why would you even practice Pencil if you barely can use it in practice and you can barely use it in tournaments? What's the point at that point?
No, I think very
Because,
just
like, think about it. If
to.
everyone practices your rule set and everyone practices zones only, who's going to be practicing Pencil?
If they're practicing the rule set and it's not all modes, then what's the who cares? You don't have to play in your weapon. Like what? But all modes tournaments usually you just shouldn't just ban Cooler Pencil for the other 3 modes. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. You can still practice it. You want to have that advantage, you should practice it.
I'm not sold on Pencil losing to other stuff in the other modes, but I guess we will see how things develop.
Yeah.
Is that your full rule set though?
Yeah.
You think Shot is fine with the charge up ban? It wouldn't spam too much Zuka if you only had the comeback charge with the special saver.
Oh shit. Forgot about Shot. Yeah, get rid of Shot.
No Shot as well, okay.
Yeah, no Shot. Yeah.
I
Just throw
figured
it out.
that was something you admitted.
Yeah, I
You
forgot
just
about
throw it
that.
out.
Yeah.
So the only full weapon ban we would have in this tournament would be Splatter Shot's Vanilla Kid. Everything else is only somewhat restricted. Okay, so that's probably like a lighter restriction format than usual. Okay, that's Jared's ideal rule set. Shadow, do you got one, or do you want to skip to me?
No, only keep brellas. That's what I say.
Alright,
Anyways.
you got a legitimate answer?
Real take time.
Alright.
I think keeping all have only one special. No duplicate specials.
No duplicate specials. Okay,
No
I've
duplicate
seen that
specials
brought
is
up
the
a
move.
good bit. Okay.
Then I'm saying we'll say no Zuka. Well, no shot.
No Shot.
Zuka, one Zuka is fine, but no
one
shot.
Zuka. Okay, well, no, one Zuka's already in the no dupe special, so that's already accounted for.
Then no more pencil. We're getting rid of that too.
Both or just blue?
We're getting rid of just the blue one, just the broken one.
All right.
I think we've got a good new meta, and that's it. We don't need anything else.
So
Kraken
Shadows-
untouched.
what
Kraken
about
completely
Clan
untouched.
Blitz?
Yeah.
We can ban Kraken and Clam Blitz. We can do that.
Alright. So this is just Shadow's rule set is just very similar to the main ban proposal. You know, still no cooler pencil, still no Kraken CB, but instead of only one Zuka, it's no dupe specials entirely, and is gonna put a full ban on Splattershot. Okay, I think that's pretty interesting. I don't have too much to say thoughts-wise, because it is very similar to the main ban proposals we talked about earlier. You know, it's still susceptible to Zap plus red pencil or Zap CF potentially taking over,
Well,
but at least you don't have to
I
take a
think-
Splattershot with it now.
I think that like edit comps are potentially strong enough to handle like red pencil, anything else.
Yeah, I
ZF
mean,
would be
without
incredibly strong
shot,
with
I
this,
think it's
but
easier to deal with it, you know. 'Cause you can
Yeah.
just run more, like, you could just run a more mid-range fight-heavy comp, in my opinion. Especially if you're doing edit, which is another mid-range fight type of gun.
yeah,
Then I
like
think it'd be a lot easier to
ZF
build
and
around
red
it.
pencil would obviously be like the better options, but no weapon would be definitively the best. You must play this. Like edit, red pencil, and ZF would all be good, but none of them are necessarily you must play this to win, which is
Okay.
what pencil is right now.
Alright. Okay. I like the rule set. I think I like that a little more than Jared. Sorry, Jared. I think that's a pretty, I think it's a pretty interesting one.
Gulp,
Okay.
gulp, gulp.
You're talking about the Bella one, right?
Jared's also been playing this game all day religiously, so he's probably, you know, losing
Yeah,
his
no,
sanity over.
I am losing my sanity. This game's
Yeah.
fucking ass.
Hey, I mean,
was
you
Worlds,
gotta
bro.
focus. You gotta focus up. You got Worlds in 2 weeks.
I know this game's ass.
I feel like he's gonna he plays something new every day or deals with something over and over, so his is gonna be more like, you know, psychotic. He's gonna just be scratching his head like very
Yeah, I can
angry.
actually see the steam coming out of his ears right now.
All right.
Like-
Well, speaking of insane, Zero, it's your turn.
Okay.
Oh
bro.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
What's
Okay.
your bans? What's your
First
ideal
one-
ban?
first one-
Fix
first
Splatoon
one,
3 right
Because
now.
everyone's gonna be like, "Wow, ban shot." I want to see how that goes. Anyway.
Wow.
All right, no
But-
shot.
I agree with Jared's format of no pencil on like zones and clamblets, but
Okay, so no zones or clams and only blue
Yeah.
pencil.
yeah,
Okay.
because I'm fine with like red, but for me at least, as a shot player who likes to run it down, and was probably the only one who still runs it down.
I mean, you can run it down on T-Tech if you're good, right?
Well, yeah, you can still do it on that as well, but see, like, because you don't do that with regular Zuka, because you're just farming it. But I feel like it's still easy to get in on pencils sometimes and just sneak around if you know how to do it properly. But that's just me, and overall the way I play and do certain things.
Mhm.
But I'm fine with taking out just blue pencil, take out shot, and trying to think.
No
I'm fine
Kraken
with that.
CB, I'm guessing.
That's been like my debate in my head for like 2 minutes. I'm
Oh,
kinda...
you're not sold on it. What makes you not sold
Yeah.
on it?
So, and it's the same. It's kind of the same concept. Like, it's very cheesy, but if you understand how to like punish certain things for that, obviously, it's like, for example, if you're not doing pencil cooler, right? And you're not gonna just dump out immediate coolers every single time. You can still get a bunch of them, but you can still easily punish players who have the ball or just sharking around, or you can immediately go under the enemy basket and score yourself. That's how I see it with Kraken, because the enemy team has to literally wait and hide with the ball, and then
Yeah,
just
I guess
wait
if
for the
there's
Kraken to get in.
if there's no pencil to sit back for the frequent cooler output, it would be
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
harder to set up. That is a fair point.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
I can see what you
that-
mean.
That's how I see it.
You can't just
I
have a
honestly-
zap sit back. That's gonna feel a lot worse.
Yeah, and if a zap is like, you know, way too far back, he might get punished very hard, because that's not normal for a regular zap to just sit and spawn and do nothing and just
Okay.
wait. You know, I honestly would say keep Kraken. I'm fine with it, but that's just me.
Ooh.
Jared is voicing his
Uh-oh.
disapproval.
He's got something to say.
I'm ignoring Jared's like, remarks. He's gonna disagree with me no matter what.
Ooh.
I mean, I think me and Zero are generally a
guy's
bit more
stinks.
fans of Kraken's design in general than Jared is. I think Jared hates
Yeah.
Kraken in general. I like Kraken, but I still don't like it in clams. I like it everywhere else, though. So,
I like
I'll
Juke.
get
Well,
into
that's
that
because it's
later.
not broken, everyone.
I love juking a Kraken and then watching
It's
it try to run
fun.
away. It's so. I think that's the most like. That's the
It's
funniest
very
thing. in this game.
satisfying.
Seeing a Kraken chase you around the map and you're like terrified that you hear like the do 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 like it's ready to go out, and then it just runs away and you just see it like squirm around trying to get out, and then it just explodes because it can't get out in time. I just find it funny, but that's just me.
Okay.
But
All right. Is there anything else you want to add to
Um,
this rule set to refresh you out? No shot, no blue pencil on zones and clams.
Can you give me a refresher on Jared's?
Jared's was no blue pencil on zones, no charge up for shooters, 1 Zuka, no Kraken and clams, and no shot.
I think you can only have 1 Zuka as well.
Okay, 1 Zuka.
And I think that's it for me. That's how I would see it. Because everything else is fine. I just think the way we do certain things and just spam is so bad in this game.
So you're not banning reflux?
Bro. Bro, I'm the shot player of the community, and I don't even want to play it anymore. That's how bad this is. That's how you know there's a problem.
That is a real problem.
I won the major with it, and I'm like, yay! I can use it the way it's supposed to be. And then it turned in like a month, and I was like, oh, I hate it again. I don't want to play it anymore.
And you see Mr. Goss over there with 3 mains of special charge.
All right. Let me get my proposal. Because everyone else is giving their opinions. I would fully ban blue pencil and shot. I would leave everything else unbanned, but I would fully ban blue pencil and shot. I would go with no dupe specials because I think double crab could be legitimately a problem, and I don't want double strike to be a thing with ZF either. I think both of those would be bad for the game. So I think a no dupe specials would fix more problems. It also keeps double cooler away, which I think is for the best as well, since cooler could potentially be strong here. Huh?
Have people been trying to run that? Is that what you said?
Not as much recently, but I feel like this rule set might have a power vacuum for double cooler. So I think just banning no dupe specials would help as a whole. I agree with Jared on this one. I like Kraken Zero, I'm sorry, but I think it is better to ban it in clams. I think that strategy, like, even if it doesn't work very often, I don't think it should be a thing at all. And then I would still ban charge up though, because I don't want anything to still be a charge up spamming weapon. And I think it also, having a charge up ban helps a lot with a lot of special spam that isn't Zuka as well. Like, it helps against crab spam, it helps against strike spam, and most importantly, it limits the output of cooler. And I think cooler is healthy for the game, but too much cooler just makes your kills not feel valuable. I think, like, killing cooler players feels more valuable if they can't get cooler as much. It's like, yeah, they died and now they don't have another cooler for like 20-25 seconds. That's a much bigger deal than a charge up pencil that's going to get it in the next 15 seconds of the game. So those will probably be my 5 bans, and I'll put them in chat if anyone wants to refresh on the rules or refresh on the bans in ours. But I want to talk real quick, what out of all 4 of our bans were universal bans? What did everyone agree on? Because there are a few things that everyone picked together here. So, and I think we'll consider those as, these are the Blot Talk official endorsed bans. First off,
oh boy,
no splatter shot. Every single player here said that splatter shots should be banned. Anyone want to walk it back?
No,
are we gonna go with it?
Nope.
Zero the shot player said shot should be banned. No, Zero the shot player said shot should be banned.
All right. Another one is whether it's through a dupe specials rule or through a different rule. Everyone said there should be 1 Zuka per team comp.
Agreed.
And that there should be no blue pencil in zones. Some of us said that it should be banned everywhere, some said only on zones and clams, and some said only on zones. But everyone seems to agree that blue pencil should be banned on zones. And I think that's actually all our universal agreements, and Zero did not agree on no Kraken and clam blitz.
Uh-oh.
As far as I'm aware,
that
is all of our agreed rules, which is no shot, 1 Zuka per comp, and no blue pencil on zones are the things that everyone was able to agree on.
I just feel like with shot, even if you ban, even if you keep it in and you ban charge up, it still gets...
I think people are just gonna run special saver comeback, and it's gonna be fine. Like, you could just run 3 subs of special saver instead of running subs of charge up, and just run comeback, and you'll probably be fine because you can die more and proc more comeback charge up anyway. I feel like you would still spam Zuka even without charge up. Maybe if it was 210, I'd say it'd be different. But I feel like even if charge up is gone, I feel like that would be there.
I mean, I get 8 Zuka. The max I could get is 8 Zukas without, and I don't run charge up at all. So that's ridiculous.
Die, 14 times a game, so I don't know. You can probably get more if you really wanted to.
Okay, let me rephrase that because Jerry wants
what do you have to say about the allegation?
Jerry wants to be, an uptight prick today, so I don't know why. But, when I don't die more than 10 times a game, and I actually sit there and paint the map and spam Zuka without charge up, I will get about 8 Zukas. There. Jesus Christ, Jared, I hate you. But yeah, that's how I see it at least. And then just you spam with charge up and it gets.
I love making your day slightly worse.
I want to give a
getting
disclaimer
to
here while we're talking about these bans. No one here is saying that these bans are going to fix the game. There's a lot of problems that we have to account for. It's going to be really hard to get proper backline diversity. You know, maybe we would need more restrictions to the level of KOs where you take out a lot of chargers. Maybe we wouldn't. That's going to be something we would only figure out by finding out. Cooler options are still going to be very limited, even if we did allow all 4 good cooler weapons to be picked evenly, which is a pipe dream. You know, we could... That would still only be a maximum of 4 cooler weapons. Jetpack is still really hard to pick. There's a lot of problems with this game that cannot be fixed with bans, and proposing the idea that bans will fix the game is completely ludicrous, and no one here is proposing that. But I do think we're at a time where the state of the game is in a weak enough spot, and it's not changed enough that I think we should consider bans, at least until an actual patch. Not the shit we got last time, like an actual patch. Things that actually address Pencil or Zuka or buff comparable options or whatever the fuck. I think until that happens, you know, it might be the next patch, it might not be, it might be never, it might be soon. I think until that happens, it is worth experimenting with bans because we might not get it right, it might not be perfect, but I think we can still get damn better than we have it right now. And, you know, I think that is very important for the health of a competitive scene. And, like, I'm just gonna say it, we saw what happened in Splatoon 2 when we didn't ban things that should have been banned. Ray, especially in modes like Rainmaker, should have been banned. K52 should have probably been restricted. And I think if we had a better ban list in Splatoon 2, then that competitive scene would have been more healthy. And I'm seeing the same pattern happen here, and I don't think it should repeat. I think it's time that we take action now. I think it's time to get bans set. And, like, whether we want to be the safe route with some of the main ban proposals or the universal ones we talked about here, or you want to be more experimental with what Kyo is doing, I think either are better than doing nothing right now. So that's my take on it. I think bans are a good idea. Jared, bans good idea?
Oh, yeah.
Shadow, bans good idea.
Proved.
0. How was your day?
Yeah. Bro.
Nah, you're good with the 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, does anyone else have anything else they want to say on the topic? Something we didn't get to cover yet? Because if not, I think we're good.
Nah.
I think we've done it. We need a graphic that just says, like, these are the Blot talk, like, bans.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. You can make one. Here.
I might have
It's
to
all
do
there.
it.
Go make one.
Jared's gonna get it.
You should make and post it. I'll retweet it. You should do it, Shadow.
The
And
Japanese
I'll
player
put it.
just
I'll
jumped
link
Jared
the
to his
tweet in
opinions.
I'll link the tweet in the second channel bod for the graphic. You could do like how many bans had 2 to 3 people agree on them and how many had the whole team agree on them. Like you could do a little graphic of how many, like how popular each band was with all of ours. That could be a good idea. You gotta make. That's a good idea. You should make it, Shadow. Shadow, you should do that. You should do that now.
I'm on the case.
Okay, well that is gonna do it for this episode then. Thank you guys so much for watching the Blot Talk podcast once again, and I will see you all next time.